This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at CES 2016. To my immediate left is Bertrand Neveu. He's CEO of VRVANA. Now, you've got a bit of a history, with VRVANA and developing head-mounted displays and your excitement for VR. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so started 10 years ago when VR was not even on the map. More about new Xbox 360, new console, new graphic power. So started with that, trying technology, seeing what works, what doesn't work. Now we're at our sixth generation product, and now we're ready to ramp up production for launch at the end of summer.
Now remind me, you had a preliminary Kickstarter that, if memory serves, it didn't work out the first time, right?
Yeah, well, we were ambitious. I think wanted to make sure that the amount that we raised could get us to production. The timing wasn't right because of the Crescent Bay launch just during our Kickstarter. We were going as the DK2. We realized we needed to do a revision with better everything. So we decided just to stop the Kickstarter halfway through and regroup and do a new version, which is pretty amazing. And yeah, we're really happy that we made that choice. So no frustration from backers. We could have just kept the money and then wait for the new version, and people would say, yeah, you said it would ship last year and blah blah blah. So I think that was the right decision for backers.
Well, I think it's an inspirational story, because a lot of people, they are consumers. A Kickstarter goes, and if it doesn't work out that first time, there's this expectation that it's not going to work out ever. And here you are as a successful entrepreneur, that you tried one thing, didn't go as planned, came back even stronger with a new direction. I think that's wonderful. So why don't you tell us about your product and development? So when you were first doing that Kickstarter, tell us about the product. I think it's called the Totem, and then where it started and where we are today.
Okay, so last year when we launched our Kickstarter, it was 1080p OLED, LCD, planning to go OLED. It was 1080p cameras. That was pretty much it. No plans for augmented reality, because the architecture was not meant for that. It was really a VR headset. But now, what's great about Kickstarter is you get a lot of feedback. So people were really excited about the AR part. So they want great VR, but they also want great AR and immersive AR. So most solutions like Meta, Epson, even Magic Leap that's coming out will be pretty reduced field of view. So from HoloLens is 20 by 30. Others are about the 25, 30. I just went to ODG booth, and it's their super new product is 30 degrees, and it sucks at 30 degrees. You want immersive. We're 120. So if we compare to HoloLens, we're 20 times more immersive. So 4 times more on the horizontal and 5 times more on the vertical. So 20 times. So when we do the demo to people, and we've did a lot of demos this CES to all sorts of OEMs, every OEM that you could think would want to go into VR, we pitched them, and their response was phenomenal, because when you try that AR demo and the car pops up in your face and really big, the people go just wow. And that's what you want. You don't want is this working? When I tried the ODG, I was not sure it was working, and then you kind of see something. You want really crisp colors, the car in front of you, you can interact with it. So I think our new product is really about that. It's a VR experience that's on par with the big guys like HTC, Oculus, Sony Morpheus. But the added value is, one, inside-out positional tracking, so you don't need a camera that tracks you or the lighthouse system, but also immersive AR, which is really fun.
So, well, why don't we talk about where things have gone with the device? Obviously, people have been impressed with what they've seen. Now, I have to underscore, I haven't seen it yet, and there's a good story for that, because it kind of exploded, right?
Yeah. So, I don't want to drop any names, but let's say I was in my second meeting with a big Asian OEM. So did the first meeting the day before. They were super impressed, so they wanted a follow-up meeting with someone more into the virtual reality group. And super excited, starting doing the setup work. Then I pick up the headset, and it was on a concrete table, and the power supply just dropped on it flat, and then boom, fire coming out of the power supply, like super bad smell. So we take off the system, and then we're like, oh no. And then he said, oh, so what's your power supply? I said, oh, it's 24 volt, but we designed a pretty good system. It can go from 12 volt to 20 to 20, even 30, I think. So he grabs like a laptop power supply that's 19 volt. So now take out my keychain. I can show you. I have that little tool, super impressive. So it comes with like a cutter and a screwdriver. So I take out that, like strip the wires, do the connection, and then start the system. Doesn't work. Well, I said at least we give it all we could. But good thing is all our important meeting were done previously to that event. But it just show you that as an entrepreneur, when things go bad, you just need to improvise, and next time we'll bring 2 or 3 more. Hopefully next year we'll have a suite, so it's going to be not me running around over the show and all that. But yeah, it was great.
So one thing I'd say is I've tried several head-mounted displays, and you got the branded stuff, and then you've got the stuff that up-and-coming brands will say. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the up-and-coming brands still have a lot of up-and-coming to do because the image is off, it looks distorted, the tracking is off. Now, I mean, we know each other well enough that I can say that you've tried this other stuff, right? You've tried the branded stuff. In your opinion, how does it compare to the brand everyone seems to know these days? Is it competitive? I mean, are there some things you're still working on? How would you describe it?
So you mean how does like HTC compare to Oculus, or?
No, I'm more interested in how these brands compare to what you're doing, so people have a comparable.
Okay, so people might not know, but we do the whole shebang. So optics, electronics, mechanics. We run embedded Linux on the headset, so we can do pre-processing. We have our own SDK, our own game plugin. So the whole pipeline we do, and the reason we do it is we want a super low latency. So when people try our AR for the first time, they can't believe how fast it is, because most of the AR experience are see-through. Because with see-through, what you see is what you get. It's a see-through experience. But with pass-through, you have cameras, to take into account. So if your architecture is not optimized for low latency, then you go like that, and then 150 milliseconds later, you see your finger clicking. But with us, no perceived latency, or under 20 milliseconds. So that's really our secret sauce. So to compare that to others, I think we're unique in that feature. But on the VR side, like our optics, I think are at 120 degrees. So the most immersive, high quality experience. I know there's the Star
VR.
Star VR. So I've tried the demo. 200 something degrees. It's pretty good, but it's pretty blurry because they only use Fresnel. We use a Fresnel and aspherical combo, and I think the experience makes it as compelling as HTC, Morpheus, or the Rift, but a little more immersive and less artifacts. So I was surprised to see on the new HTC that you still see stray light when there's a black and white scene, like white text on a black background. You'll see stray light. We don't have that. So I can say with confidence that we have better optics than HTC. And I think Crescent Bay optics are very good, but they lack field of view. I think they don't say the field of view, I think, because it's between 90 and 100. So at 120, when people try it, they say, oh, I feel much more immersed. And I think immersion is much more important than super tight pixel density. I think after a certain times, your brain will not see the pixel anymore, but immersion will always stay through the experience.
So let me ask you a series of quick questions for as far as specifics. Low persistence. Do you support that?
Of course.
And how do you support that?
By doing what engineers do. So I think you need to find a way to make it work. So we had to see how the Note 4 worked. So being a frugal startup, we don't have we only raised 1.5 million so far. So we had to be really creative on how to use the money and make every dollar count. So we could have bought that low persistent formula, but it would have cost us a fortune. So instead, we reverse engineer the panels on the Note 4 to see how they do it. We buy replacement Note 4 panels. We put it in our headset just to show our know-how and how having low persistence is a must. Any headset out there that doesn't have low persistence, sorry guys, it doesn't cut it. You need low persistence. So right now there's HTC, Sony, Oculus, and Samsung that has low persistence. So we're really proud to be the fifth one and the one with tiny budget. So we think that we want to do a no compromise VR experience. So if you want a no compromise, you need low persistence, and if you need low persistence, you need to find a way to do it. And we did it by just trying to see how it works and reverse engineering and coding, and it works. So it was a big breakthrough for us last year when we achieved that.
Okay, next question. Positional tracking.
Okay. So, people might not know we were in an accelerator in Silicon Valley for the past 3 months. So I was there, meeting the community. It was awesome because, in Montreal, we have a tiny community, lots of talent because all those content creators. But Montreal VR maybe we'll have 50 people to 100 if we host it. Sometimes it was 10 people. But a bad meetup in the valley is 200 people. And good one, at Jaunt, the last day I flew back to Montreal. It was the Jaunt Christmas Montreal SVVR event, and it was 400 people, 500, I don't know. So just being there, trying to see their mentality and all that, and the first thing we'll do once we have our Series A close is to open an office there because it's so amazing. The concentration of technological know-how, and you don't need to explain what it is. In Montreal, people are not, what's VR and what's AR, and they just get it. So when I was there, met a bunch of VCs and all that, but we were always saying, personal tracking is coming, and then we just had a breakthrough. I think the day before the Jaunt event at SVVR. So it was pretty amazing. Now you can put it's still not perfect. It's just released, but we don't even take into account the IMU. It's only vision-based personal tracking, and you go up, you go down, left, right. It will follow you. So it will just get better and better in the following months. We do a small respin of our hardware to improve that. So can't wait to see the new version that will be released internally in March, April. We're aiming for GDC. So our plan is to show really what we're capable at GDC this year.
So one of the biggest challenges I've seen with positional tracking by other solutions is drift. It's not that one-to-one relationship, or it's inconsistent. Have you faced similar challenges with your solution? What are you working to overcome?
Well, drift is not really an issue right now. It's more scaling. We just need to make sure that. So right now we track key features in the scene, and because it's stereo, we have a depth map. We know if you move left, right, how much you move. So we just need to, I think, improve our calibration process to make sure that what the camera sees is really tightly related to distance. So, and the accelerometer will also help us for that. Right now, we don't take the accelerometer into account. So, drift is not a problem because with vision-based, that's why people like Oculus, why they added the constellation tracking is because you need a point of reference. And the point of reference is like infrared LED that you track. So for us, it's not an infrared light that you track, is a feature in your scene that you know is there and you track. So like as soon as you see the same feature, you know where you are, so there's no drift. So and I think it's the same thing for Lighthouse. Did you see drift with Lighthouse? No. So drift mostly is if you're only IMU based, then it will drift. So that's why you need either computer vision aid or laser based aid, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So, let's talk about CES. We're at the tail end of it. I mean, I'm flying out tonight, thankfully. And 2016 was labeled as the year of VR. And do you think it's like, do you think this industry is going to be like a hotcakes industry where it just sells and sells and boom, or do you think it's going to be more of a longer term development? What would be a comparable market to VR? What do you think would be a realistic expectation?
I don't know if there's a comparable, but what I can say is everyone has a smartphone right now, and mobile VR will pick up, I think, like crazy this year. There will be bad and good experience because, let's face it, like the barrier to entry to do a phone holder for a smartphone is pretty low. So there's a lot of company doing that. To have a great mobile experience, it's mostly Samsung Gear VR for now. I saw an interesting company called Ion VR. So you can they only showed the OLED smartphone, but even if your smartphone doesn't do low persistence, they have a proprietary thing that will make it low persistence without altering the phone by itself. So I think there's something in their optics, like maybe active optics or something, but it does a really great job. So I think that's really what is needed, is like to have a minimum quality for mobile. And once it's like an infection vector. When people try it, they'll say, oh, it's really cool, the 360 videos, I want more. So then they'll go to the PC. So I think like 2016, we'll see a lot of sales coming from mobile VR. And next year, like PC will pick up, like NVIDIA and AMD will release their new cards, going to get cheaper. So like I think right now, Jason Paul from NVIDIA said there's 13 million graphic cards on the market that can do great VR. So let's say I
have a different opinion on that, right?
Yeah, but I mean it's still a limited market. But PlayStation VR, you don't have that barrier, like there's 35 million PlayStation 4. So like I think it was Alex Tussing from HCP Island Capital Partner that said if there's a 10% penetration rate, then it's 3.5 million. So I think like most of the sales will come from PlayStation VR on the tethered side. Mobile side, I think it's going to be pretty big. And then next year, PC will follow up. And after that, it's going to be enterprise. Like executive will try it at home with their kids. They say, oh, it's great. And then they say, yeah, let's bring this to the office and be more productive. So I think it's going to... I don't see that like super crazy this year. I think it's more of a marketing tool right now. Like maybe 10% of the booth this year had some kind of VR experience. Like I saw DK2 pretty much all over the place. So I think it's a great way to show new technology and maybe differentiate from others. So I think it will be a tool, but I don't see like 5 million Rift being sold this year.
Okay, very good, very good. So to close this out, are there challenges you'd like to see solved in the industry? I mean, you're one vendor out of, I think it's going to become several vendors, and there's content and technology. From an industry point of view, are there some core challenges you'd like to see overcome?
Well, I think it's make the life of the developers easier. So having a standard, yes, that's the ultimate goal. But like everyone wants to keep their like secret garden. So like let's be honest, there's Oculus doesn't have any interest of a standard because they have been pushing that their standard from the beginning. They did a lot of great work, so it's not in their interest to support like OpenVR or OSVR or any other standard that comes in. But I think for the greater goods, we need that, and I think it's up to everyone to regroup and create that. But that being said, right now to port a game from Oculus to the Rift or to us, we have a plugin for Unreal and Unity. You just drag and drop the plugin, you recompile, and it works. So other challenges, maybe on the AR side, there's not much standard. Some people use Vuforia or AR Toolkit or things like that. I think putting a layer on top of that would help. Yeah, I think that's it for now.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Now, I know you're still tinkering. You still got more work to do. When are you hoping to have this? When are you hoping to have this out in the market?
So we'll start the alpha program with certain chosen developers in April, I think. When we do a small respin of that hardware, we found some limitation with some sensors. We're gonna fix that. It's going to be twice better AR, so we're very excited about that. Better low light and all that. And after that, once that version is a bit polished, we'll go into production and start shipping at the end of summer.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Bertrand.
Thanks for having me.
This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at CES 2016, and we will, of course, be back with more. Thank you for watching.